Welcome to our YouTube channel. This is Cry Aloud Messengers. I'm your host, Sister Edith Zombe. Today on our presentation, we want to talk about the behavior of children on the Sabbath day. Here, brothers and sisters, we want to see what the Lord is saying about the behavior of our children when we are at church. In some cases, you will see children running around at church. They will be playing, they will be talking. And some parents, they do bring food for their children so that they will be eating in the house of the Lord. Brothers and sisters, let us see what the Word of God is saying concerning these behaviors. Train up a child. We read from Proverbs 22, verse 6. It reads, "Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it." Here we see that it is the duty of every parent to train up their children in the way they should go. They must train up their children in the way of the Lord. And we will see that if this training is properly done, we will not have such unruly behaviors in the house of the Lord. Children playing, eating, and even making noise, disturbing other people while they are worshiping the Lord. Duty of the parents. We read from Child Guidance, page 546. It reads, "Parents, it is your duty to have your children in perfect subjection, having all their passions and evil tempers subdued. And if children are taken to meeting, they should be made to know and understand where they are, that they are not at home, but where God meets with his people. And they should be kept quiet and free from all play. And God will turn his face towards you to meet with you and bless you." Here, brothers and sisters, we see that it is the duty of every parent to make their children to know and understand where they are when they are at church. They must know that they are not at home, but where God meets with his people. They are in the presence of the Lord. Hence, we see that they must keep quiet and they are not supposed to be playing. We continue reading from the same chapter. It reads, "Your child should be taught to obey as the children of God obey him." If this standard is maintained, a word from you will have some weight when your child is restless in the house of God. But if the children cannot be restrained, if the parents feel that the restraint is too much of an exertion, the child should be removed from the church at once. It should not be left to divert the minds of the hearers by talking or running about. God is dishonored by the loose way in which parents manage their children while at church. Here, brothers and sisters, we see that our children, they should be taught to obey as the children of God obey him. The way we obey God, the way we behave as parents when we are at church, it is the same way we should teach our children to behave. They are not supposed to be eating. They are not supposed to be running around. They are not supposed to be playing or even making noise. Here we see inspiration is saying God is dishonored by the loose way in which parents manage their children while at church. Here, brothers and sisters, nowadays we see that parents, they are not controlling their children. But in most homes, you will see that children are the ones who are controlling parents. That is why today at church, parents, they cannot control their children because they are failing to do their job at work. Here, brothers and sisters, we also see that most of the parents today, they are following on what Eli did. Eli failed to train his children, failed to control his children. And we know, brothers and sisters, that Eli, he will not be there in heaven. Even other parents who are failing to control their children, who are failing to train up their children in the way of the Lord, they will not receive the seal of the living God. Here, brothers and sisters, we see that when it comes to Abraham, the Lord said concerning Abraham that for I know him, that he will command his children and his household after him. Brothers and sisters, can the Lord say the same concerning the parents of today? Can the Lord say the same concerning the Seventh-day Adventist parents of today? Brothers and sisters, we must change our ways as parents. You know that we as parents, we are the ones who are supposed to know the way first. If we don't know the way as parents, what are we going to teach our children? What are we going to teach? What behavior are we going to teach to our children? Even here we see that inspiration is saying that if the parents feel that the restraint is too much of an exertion, the child should be removed from the church at once. Many times, the parents, they feel offended when their children are taken outside of the church just because they are making noise. For further reading, if you go and read from Spiritual Gifts Volume 2, page 288, it even makes it clear that it is better, brothers and sisters, for those parents who cannot control their children at church. It is better for them to stay at home rather than to come in the house of the Lord, rather than to come at church and dishonor God. Reverence in the house of God. We read from Child Guidance, page 546. It reads, reverence is greatly needed in the youth of this age. I am alarmed as I see children and youth of religious parents so heedless of the order and propriety that should be observed in the house of God. While God's servants are presenting the word of life to the people, some will be reading, others whispering and laughing. Their eyes are sinning by diverting the attention of those around them. This habit, if allowed to remain unchecked, will grow and influence others. Children and youth should never feel that it is something to be proud of, to be indifferent and careless in meetings where God is worshipped. God sees every irreverent thought or action, and it is registered in the books of heaven. He says, I know thy works. Nothing is hid. Nothing is hid from his all-searching eye. If you have formed in any degree the habit of inattention and indifference in the house of God, exercise the powers you have to correct it and show that you have self-respect. Practice reverence until it becomes a part of yourself. Here, brothers and sisters, we see that the youth and the children are the ones who are dishonoring God at church with doing their own things. Some will be reading, others whispering. Most of them will be on their phones, on WhatsApp, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, even on Instagram. They will be doing their things which have nothing with the worshiping of God. Brothers and sisters, we see that inspiration is telling us that we must practice reverence until it becomes a part of ourselves. Here we see that it is the duty of every parent, as we have already said, that parents train your children. If the parents do their job, we will not have the youth and children playing, reading, doing their things in the house of the Lord, and others will be even playing games on their phones. Conclusion of the matter. It is the duty of the parents to train their children in the way of the Lord. If children are taken to church, they should be made to know and understand where they are. That they are not at home, but where God meets with his people. No whispering, laughing, and playing during the service. In conclusion, a word to the parents. Parents, you have a work to do. Subdue your children at home, and then you can govern them in the house of God. For more information, contact our admins at Cry Aloud Messengers. God bless.